Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mogi Beth, and for those of y'all who are new here, I own a six-figure reselling business selling women's apparel online on places like eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, and Tradesy. Today's video is all about the question that I receive most often, and that is, how do you track your inventory, both physically and digitally? I've been putting this video off for a while because I've been trying to figure out the best way to present this information, and the thing that we landed on was to launch our very first product over at mogibeth.com, and that is our inventory tracking spreadsheet. This is the spreadsheet that I use in my business, and really the thing that I love most about this spreadsheet is that it not only allows me to track my inventory and track my individual sales, but it also calculates the averages of a lot of different metrics that I think are really important to track, like gross profit margin, sell-through rate, even being able to track my average cost of goods. And we'll go over that more at the end of this video. But Matt has made this spreadsheet really easy to use, and he's created video tutorials that walk you through the onboarding process as well as modifications that you can use in order to accompany your individual needs. But if you don't want to purchase a spreadsheet, that's totally fine, because we're going to go over the metrics that I think are really important to track so that you can create your own. But this spreadsheet is only 25 bucks. It's really affordable in my opinion. And the thing that I'm really excited to announce is that this spreadsheet purchase will also act as a $25 voucher toward what we've been working on for so long. And what I'm really excited to announce is that we are launching our first course in early November. In this first course, I am sharing everything that I know about reselling. I am sharing my sourcing strategy, my research strategy, my pricing strategy. Can I say strategy enough times? Because really the thing that I am so excited about is that this is really a business strategist approach to reselling that will help you maximize profit and minimize time wasted. And then in December, we are launching our second course, which is going over things like financial projections, cash flow, and basically everything that you need if you plan on or are currently relying on reselling for a primary source of income. But stay tuned, because we have more about this coming soon. Next week, we are going to share part of our first module from our first course, which goes over developing a business model on reselling, which I think is going to be so valuable. So even if you have zero intention of buying a course, I really think that you're going to want to tune in for that one, because you're going to really be able to derive a lot of value from it. Okay. Now let's get back into inventory management. First, we're going to discuss how I physically inventory my items, both clothing and shoes. And then we're going to discuss tracking your items in an inventory spreadsheet, why it's important, and also what metrics you should include on there. I'll show you what my spreadsheet looks like, and then if you want to purchase your own, you can head on over to mogibeth.com/resources. And just to reiterate, if you purchase this spreadsheet before we launch the course, you'll receive a $25 voucher to use on any course, which would make your spreadsheet purchase free, which is awesome. Okay, so let's jump into my physical inventorying system. The physical inventorying system can be broken down into two different systems: clothing and shoes. And within both of these systems, I use a few different products and tools to help maximize efficiency, and most of them I've purchased on Amazon. So you can actually head on over to my Amazon wish list, which is linked in the description down below, in order to find them and buy them for yourself if you so choose. But of course, this inventory system has been built up over years and years and years. So if you are just now starting out, you might want to create a hybrid of this system, one that works for you based off the size of your closet, but definitely don't feel pressured into buying a ton of equipment or having a massive inventory system set up. Okay, so let's start with clothes. After an item of clothing has been processed, steamed, and photographed, it enters into the inventory system. First thing we do is take the garment off the hanger, and you really want to take the hanger off from the bottom of the garment instead of stretching out the neckline, because you can damage that neckline if you stretch it out too much. Next, we want to make shipping as easy as possible. So we want to store our items in the same form that we also ship them in. And in order to do that, I use a folding mat in order to fold each and every clothing item so that it looks professional upon receiving it. Again, that mat is on my Amazon wish list in the description down below. So once we have folded the item, we put that item into a reusable Ziploc bag. And we have two different sizes of Ziploc bags. The first is our regular size, which is our 1 gallon size, and the second is our large size, and that is a 2.5 gallon Ziploc bag. And I usually purchase my Ziploc bags from the neighborhood Walmart or Target, but you can purchase them on Amazon as well. Of course, sometimes we do run into situations in which the 2.5 gallon bag or our large bag actually doesn't fit the item, if the item's just too big. And in those situations, we have an oversized system, and we use these oversized or very large non-reusable poly bags. And I have two sizes. I have 14 by 20 and 20 by 24. Again, both of these I purchased off of Amazon. And this system is a little bit different than our clothing system, so I'll revisit this when we get to the shoes part, because it's actually a little bit more similar to my shoe inventory system, so we'll get back to that. But for the vast majority of the clothing that I store them in either 1 gallon or 2.5 gallon bags, and each one of these bags have an inventory number on them. The inventory numbers that I use are A1 through A99, B1 through B99, etc. And I think I'm all the way up to tier U at this point. And so when we put that item in the bag with the corresponding number, we put that number within our inventory spreadsheet as well. This tells us where we can find the item when that item does sell. And once we've put all our folded clothing into bags and put those numbers into our spreadsheet, then we take all of those bagged inventory items to our storage room. Here is where we have rows of shelving units with inventory bins. Each bin has 4 large reusable bags that have been assigned to it, and then 16 regular sized or 1 gallon bags assigned to it. We go ahead and put all of our inventoried items into their corresponding bins, being sure to be very careful that we don't put it in the wrong bin. Okay, so really quickly before we head on over to shoe inventory system, I want to go over the pros and cons of this specific type of system. The major pro, and really the reason that I will probably always use this system, is that it allows me to store things vertically. So since I pay for my storage area, that square footage is really valuable to me. I spend money on it every month, and so I want to be able to maximize my storage space as much as possible, and really the way to do that is to store vertically. If I use the other most common form of storing inventory, which is hanging it on hangers, it would really only allow me to store things horizontally. I also really like this system because since I put it into these reusable plastic bags, my items are protected from the elements. So things like smells, like smoke, like dust, like random particles floating in the air. And then also I really like this system because it is scalable. It does require me to buy some equipment such as the shelving units and the bins, but I can continue just to buy more and more shelving units, and I can grow accordingly. And then the last reason I really like this inventory system is because it is really easy for me to track on an inventory spreadsheet, and it's really easy for me to go and grab those items when they sell. Okay, but there are two major cons with this type of inventory system, and the first is that it isn't super easy to retrieve items if someone asks for a measurement or asks for a question. With a hanging system, you can just literally take it off a hanger, answer right there, then and there, but since I also have to go to a separate room, I have to take it out of the bag, unfold it, refold it, put it back in the bag, take it back to the bin. It does take longer to answer those questions. And how I have dealt with that is by whenever I ship, I go retrieve the items that I'm going to ship, and then I also retrieve whatever questions or requests have been made over the past 24 hours. I just retrieve those items as well. And then the other con that is worth considering is that when you misplace an item, it is very punishing. Because we have so many items in this storage system, if it gets placed in the wrong one, we might have to go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items. Whereas if they were hanging, I could probably just scan, the hangers and look for the clothing based off of what it looks like. But because this system is hidden in bins, I have to dig through each bin, and that can be frustrating. Okay, now let's talk about my shoe inventory system. When I actually first started reselling, I did not pick up a lot of shoes, and a really big reason for that was that I did not have a good shoe inventory system set up, and so I avoided them because I really just didn't want to have to deal with them. But I decided, hey, shoes have a really good ASP, they have a really good sell-through rate, I really need to integrate them into my business model, and so I've got to figure out a way to inventory them so I'm not dreading that. And so I tried out a few different shoe inventory systems, and this is the one that I landed on. I developed it over time and changed things and tweaked things throughout time, so this is where I feel pretty good about this system. There is like one thing that kind of bothers me, which we'll get to later, but I think that there's a lot of benefits to this system. So I've actually decided to store all of my shoes in shoe boxes already. This way, they're already packaged and ready to ship, making shipping such a breeze. I use 3 different boxes to store shoes in. The first is the USPS shoe box, and of course all boxes from the USPS you can get for free, including these ones I'm going to share with y'all. The second is the USPS large square box, and I will link these boxes down in the description below as well so that you can order them if you would like. They will drop them off at your front door like any other package. It's really great. And then the last box I use is actually not a USPS box. This is a boot box, or a large rectangular brown box that I special order for extra large or extra long shoes. So this regular shoe box is really good for regular size shoes, sneakers, flats, heels, what have you. The square box is good for new with box shoes if it'll fit in there, and then also ankle boots or booties. And then the long rectangular box is really good for, any type of riding boot, over the knee boot, rain boot, or basically, anything that's just a little bit longer in size, or when shoes are new in box and they don't fit in that square box. Rectangular box, I actually have found a place where I can order them in bulk, and so I order like hundreds of dollars worth at a time. But you can also order them on Amazon, and that is linked in my wish list as well. And the reason I like that box is because previously with these types of longer boots, I was left scrambling trying to figure out a solution whenever they would sell. And now I can store them, and I have a consistent way of inventorying them and shipping them, and then I don't have to dread when they sell. Okay, so the way that I store them in these boxes is the same way that I would prep them when they shipped. I wrap each shoe in a piece of tissue paper, and then I stuff the bottom of the box with some packaging material. So I like to save the little air pillow packaging things that you get from Amazon, if y'all know what I'm talking about. I like to use those if I get them from packages that arrive at my house or wherever, but I also have these big rolls of craft paper that I use most often, and so I just stuff the bottom of the box with some craft paper. Then I'll put my shoes in there, and then last I'll just add more packaging paper or more packaging supplies to the top, tape it up, and then on the taped box I'll add 2 things. The first is I will write out on a little file label that's actually a Dymo label that I use for other things, and of course that's linked in my Amazon wish list, but there are these little file labels that I'll write the name of the shoe, so just the brand, the style, and the size, and that way I just feel more confident when selecting it that I'm selecting the right shoe. And then the second thing I add on there is adding the inventory number label. And how I created these is that I printed off a bunch of labels just on regular old paper, and then I laminated all of them. And I laminated them so that I could use tape on them, and I actually bought a laminator on Amazon, and it was surprisingly affordable. When I took these papers to Kinko's to be laminated, it was going to be really expensive, so I just quickly checked to see what a laminator would cost, and it's super affordable, again, in my Amazon wish list. And I have shoebox labels, I have those square box labels, and then I have the boot box labels, which are those rectangular labels. They're all different colors, so I can pick them pretty easily, and I keep all those labels in a little container. So when it's all packaged, I've already added that little file sticker that says what the shoe is, and then I'll tape an inventory number to the outside of it as well. And that's one thing I really don't like about this shoe system, is it does waste a lot of tape, but you know, I think it's probably the least wasteful solution of all of the solutions that I've come up with. So I'll tape that little inventory label outside of it, and then I'll enter that inventory number into my spreadsheet. And then once the item sells, I'll take off that inventory number and reuse it and put it back in the little basket that holds those labels. And this way I can really easily keep track of what shoe slots are available and really be able to retrieve them easily. This is also the same system that we use for oversized clothing, like I mentioned earlier. So we've created oversized labels that we will tape to the outside of those non-reusable poly bags of oversized size, and then we have a separate section in our storage room just for oversized bins, and so we'll just put it into the corresponding bin as well. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the last thing I want to say about the shoe inventory system is that doing it this way does make it super easy to ship. Basically, all you have to do is take off the inventory number, and you could take off that little file sticker if you want. You could leave it on there, and then put the shipping label on the box, and it's good to go. Super easy, makes shipping shoes so easy. Inventorying them does take a little bit more time, but I really think it's worth it. Okay, so the pros and cons of this shoe inventory system. The pros, again, is that I can store vertically. I can stack these shoe boxes on top of each other, and that allows me to maximize my storage space more effectively. It also, like I just said, makes shipping a lot easier. And then similarly to the clothing, this inventory method protects my shoes from the elements. The cons of this shoe inventory method is that the boxes themselves take up a lot of space. So that's something that I really do have to keep in mind as I scale and as I continue to purchase shoes. I really have to think about how much space it is that they take up. And then another con that I mentioned earlier is that it is wasteful when it comes to tape, which is for some reason something that really irks me, but that is what it is. And then the last con is that if you do use those rectangular boxes, they can be expensive, especially if you don't have a super high ASP. That packaging expense can really eat into your profit margins. Okay, so that is my physical inventory system. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll do my very best to answer them, because I know this is something that a lot of y'all have asked me about in Instagram DMs and emails and so forth. Okay, but now we're gonna go into really the question that y'all ask me most often, and that is how I track my system in a spreadsheet digitally. First, before we even begin, the spreadsheet that you use, I really highly recommend that you use Google Sheets over Excel. And the spreadsheet that we have for purchase on our website is intended to be used exclusively on Google Sheets. And this is for a few different reasons. First of all, Google Sheets is free and accessible to everyone who has internet access. Secondly, you can access and edit Google Sheets on all your devices. So you can edit it on your computer, then you can access it on your phone when you're out in the thrift store, and then you can access it on your iPad. It just makes it really seamless and easy to use and edit wherever you are. It automatically syncs with the cloud, so you don't have to manually save it, and every time you make an edit, you can rest assured that it's being saved. And lastly, you can share all your Google documents, all your Google spreadsheets with anyone you want. So I share, a lot of my spreadsheets with my team, with Matt, and we can all edit the same spreadsheet and access the same spreadsheet, which makes it really, really helpful. And if you purchase our spreadsheet, Matt actually has a video tutorial just about Google Sheets in general. So if you're not very proficient when it comes to Google Sheets, he will walk you through that. Okay, but now I want to go over a few different things when it comes to tracking your inventory on a spreadsheet. The first I want to go over is why I think it's important. The second thing is what I think you should track on your spreadsheet. And then the third is how we organized our spreadsheet. Okay, so let's start with why I think it's important. Some of y'all are probably wondering why you shouldn't just use your inventory report that Poshmark provides for you. And if you want to access that, you can do so, and it will email you a report of all the inventory that you have currently active in your closet. And it will also send you a report of all your sales. And that's something that they've added, I think, within the last year, and it's super helpful. However, I still think that it's really important to have your own. And here's why. The first reason is that you don't want to become dependent on a platform like Poshmark for something that's as important as your data. And you don't want to be beholden to them to whatever they think is important to track. If you depend entirely on them, not only are you kind of in a vulnerable situation, but you're not able to customize that spreadsheet to meet your own needs. The second reason that I think you should have your own inventory tracking spreadsheet is so that you can get a snapshot of your financial performance and your financial health of your business. And that's what the stats page on our spreadsheet really does. And then the last is that if you do want to cross-list different things on different platforms, I think it's really helpful to have just one master list and then have one, master kind of sales list per month of what you're making on each and every platform. Therefore, you can really track your averages and your totals of sales, profit margins, etc. of all your platforms together and on each one separately. Even if you haven't started cross-listing yet, I think setting up this system now to allow you to have that opportunity or that option is really helpful, because I think cross-listing is something that can really elevate your business to the next level when you get to that point. And just in case y'all are curious, I have linked up on the screen my video where I compare the 4 main platforms that I use, and that's Poshmark, eBay, Tradesy, and Mercari. Okay, so let's go over what I think you should track within your spreadsheet. The bare minimum of what you really must track within any kind of inventory spreadsheet, and something that I've tracked in all my different inventory spreadsheets I've had before, is the title of your item, and so that you can search for those titles when you're looking up your sales. And if the more that your title matches your title on Poshmark, the better, because it'll be easier to find. The second is your cost of goods. It's really important to track that. And then the third is the inventory number, or where you're storing the item. Those 3 things are really important for inventory tracking, but you can track other data that can be really important in understanding the well-being of your business. The first one is gross profit margin. This is one of the main indicators of financial performance, and it's not one that I share on my sales videos, but it is one that I track very closely. In order to track our gross profit margin, we must know the price sold of the item, the platform fees that the item sold on, the cost of goods of the item, and then any shipping cost or discount that we offered with the item. And again, we don't only want to track the gross profit margins of each individual item, but it's really helpful to track the average of your gross profit margins per month, and so that you can have a good indicator of the financial health of your business. And then on our spreadsheet, we break that down additionally by how the gross profit margins of each platform, so you can compare how each platform is performing financially. Okay, the second metric I think is really important to track is your sell-through rate. This will help you understand how the items that you're selecting for your closet are performing, and it would also help you with financial projections, cash flow analysis, etc. Sell-through rates are, of course, an imperfect snapshot in time, but they're really valuable nonetheless. And what you'll need for a sell-through rate, if you're looking at it over a month's time, is to know the average amount of inventory you had within that month. And the 2 things that you'll need to know in order to find that out roughly is your beginning inventory of the month and then your end inventory of the month. Within our spreadsheet, we also break down our sell-through rate. We look at the sell-through rate of all the inventory that we had before the beginning of the month, and then we also look at the sell-through rate of the inventory that we listed within the month. And that really kind of gives us an idea of how well the items that we're adding are performing. And of course, it's imperfect indicator, but it's still a valuable one nonetheless. Okay, and the last metric that I think is important to track, which I share in all of my sales videos, is your average sales days and your median sales days. And this is really important for your cash flow analysis and for your financial projections as well. Okay, so those are 3 metrics that I think not everyone tracks, but I think are really important to track in order to understand your business better and to gain insights into your business. But next, I want to go over how we have organized our spreadsheet and the other additional metrics that we track. Of course, if you don't want to purchase ours, you can always create your own, but after having so many different spreadsheets in the past, I really think this one is super helpful and could potentially be really helpful to you and your business. And again, it's only $25. So, okay, I'm going to show you the highlights now.
All right, I'm so excited to quickly share with y'all what this spreadsheet looks like. So this first sheet here is your inventory spreadsheet. So this is the spreadsheet with all your active listings, all the listings that you have currently inventoried. And over here, as you can see, you've got your inventory numbers. And then the next sheet is perhaps the most valuable sheet, and this is your stats page. This is the page that is going to tell you what the financial health of your business looks like. So you've got your sales at top, your earnings, which is sales after your platform fee profit, your beginning inventory, ending and average, which is good for your sell-through rate, which you can find more information about down here. You've got your averages of the most important kind of metrics to follow, which is your gross profit margin, your average sales price, your average earnings, cost of goods, etc. And then we break it down by platform down here. So your total sales per platform, your average profit margin per platform, and then of course in column N, you can see that your total for each one of these over the year. So this is super helpful as well. But perhaps the thing I'm most excited about is this little area down here, and this is this month's sales goals. So you can enter in right here whatever your goal is, and it will also tell you based off your current financial performance of the month and where you are in the month, what you're on track to make for the month. So for instance, this is of course an example spreadsheet. These aren't my real sales, but if today we are filming this video on October 22nd, and if we had had $420 worth of sales on October 22nd for the month, we are projected to hit $591 if all else remains equal. But if we want to get to that 800 number, we've got to make up this 147 gap, and this is the amount we need to make per day in order to get to this number. So this really helps just keep me honest, and I check this literally every single day, oftentimes several times a day as I'm updating my sales. And what I mean by updating my sales is, okay, here is your inventory spreadsheet, right? But when you make a sale, you're going to copy the row, and then you're going to move it into the month you're in. So right now that would be October, and you would paste it here. And here you've got the different platforms as options, and Matt will show you how to add more in case you want to do that. But what you choose here will affect all these numbers here, your gross profit, margin, earnings, etc., because the different fee structures of each platform does affect that. And so as you go through the month, you'll just continue to add all of your sales, and then also from here you can pull your inventory and be able to track what you need to pull for each day. And oftentimes I'll just move this over here, whatever month I'm on, so I can really just focus on these 3 over here. But the other spreadsheet that I find useful is returns, and this is just an easy way for me to track what has been returned and whether the return has been completed or is incomplete. And this way I can really just track my costs associated with the return. But yeah, that is the spreadsheet in a nutshell. Of course, Matt goes into depth about all the different functionalities of the spreadsheet in the tutorial videos that accompany the purchase. But I hope this gives you a good overview as to what this looks like. And if you do choose to purchase it, I hope it's helpful for you in your business. All right.
This spreadsheet is really intended to give you the data that I think is going to be most helpful for a variety of reasons, but we've also just kept it really, really simple, and we haven't like over formatted it or added a bunch of colors. We've kept it really plain so that you can customize it for your purposes. But I think this spreadsheet really does provide insight into the performance of your decision making within your business. And so whether that is what you're sourcing or the prices you're setting or your sell-through rate or whatever it may be, it really gives you insight into how well your decisions are performing and how well therefore your overall business is performing. This spreadsheet also just helps you really streamline your processes, and it helps you stay organized for things like bookkeeping, for tracking returns, and all kinds of things within your business. And then also, like I said, it's just really not too time consuming, and the reward to the effort ratio I think is a really good one because it doesn't take too much effort, but I think the reward is really significant. And with all of that being said, again, if you want to access the spreadsheet, you can go to mogibeth.com/resources. And again, make sure that you watch the video that we are putting out next week. I think it's going to be so valuable, even if you have zero intention of ever buying a course from a reseller, including me. I think it's going to be a really, really good one. So I hope y'all tune in for that one. Okay, well, I hope this video was helpful in some way. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you run into any issues with your spreadsheet, feel free to email support@mogibeth.com. All right, well, I will see y'all in the next one. Love y'all so much. Bye. Would y'all like to watch more reseller related content? You should click on these videos up on screen. I think they will be helpful to y'all. And also make sure that you subscribe to these videos. I know most of y'all watching haven't subscribed, so click on that little logo and give this video a big old thumbs up. Okay, I'll see y'all in the next one.